Hi, everybody. As promised, we are now going to solve the systems of linear equations that we set up in the problems in the previous video. If you're finding this video on YouTube, this is a part 2. All of these systems of equations came from word problems that we went over in part 1. All right, so this one came from the DVDs and CDs problem. We have 2D plus 5C equals 65 and 4D plus 3C equals 81. You can use either substitution or addition to solve these. I don't recommend using graphing. For one thing, the numbers in these problems tend to be kind of big and it might be difficult to scale your graph and also to get an accurate answer. So I definitely recommend using either substitution or addition, whichever you find easier, and whichever you find easier might depend on the specific system. So you'll see me using both. In this one, I'm going to use addition. I will multiply both sides of the top equation by -2, and I'm doing that in order to make this term -4D. That way, when I add the two equations together, the D terms will drop out. So that makes the new first equation -4D minus 10C equals -130. And I like the second equation just the way it is. 4D plus 3C equals 81. I add those two equations together. These terms drop out, which was the whole point. -10C plus 3C is -7C, and -130 plus 81 is -49. I divide both sides by -7, which gives me C equals 7. I will now substitute that into one of the equations. Let's say the first one. 2D plus 5C, and we think C is 7, equals 65. So 2D plus 35 equals 65. Subtract 35 from both sides. You get 2D equals 30. Divide both sides by 2. That gives you D equals 15. Which means for the problem that this came from, DVDs are $15 and CDs are $7. All right, this next system came from the interest problem where we were investing money in the money market account and the certificate of deposit. We have X plus Y equals 50,000 and 0.085X plus 0.105Y equals 4,550. For this one, I'm going to use substitution, and that's because it's very easy to solve the first equation for either X or Y. I'll solve it for Y. So we have X plus Y equals 50,000. I'm going to subtract X from both sides, which gives me Y equals 50,000 minus X. And we call that equation star. We're going to use it again later. And now I'm going to substitute that into the second equation, 0.085X plus 0.105. It used to say Y, and now it's going to say 50,000 minus X. That's equal to 4,550. So now we'll distribute the 0.105. Just grabbing my calculator here. Okay, so we're going to have 0.085X plus 0.105 times 50,000 is 5,000 250 minus 0.105x equals 4550. We'll combine the like terms. Be careful with your decimals. 0.085 minus 0.105 is negative 0.02. And that's x plus 5250 equals 4550. I'm going to subtract 5250 from both sides. Continue this on the next page. So we're going to have negative 0.02x equals 4550 minus 5250 is negative 700. I remember saying to you once, hashtag DBAH, which stands for Don't Be a Hero. And that means if you have a calculator, use your calculator. And you should always have a calculator. Right? There's a joke among people in my generation that our teachers always told us that we wouldn't be walking around with calculators in our pockets. And so there's all these memes out there now that say, haha, showed them, because of course everybody has a phone with a calculator on it. Right? So please go ahead and use it. Negative 700 divided by negative 0.02 is 35,000. So x is 35,000. Now we'll go back to equation star, which says y equals 50,000 minus x. We think x is 35,000, which means y is 15,000. All right, so the solution for the problem that this came from is that $35,000 is invested at 8.5%, 15,000 is invested at 10.5%. All right, next problem. This was the Schultz family paddling up and down the river. Okay. First of all, mixed numbers really have no place in algebra equations. They are very hard to work with. So the first thing I'm going to do is change that mixed number into, let's change it into a decimal. And at the same time, I will distribute it. So instead of writing 1 1/4 times quantity x plus y, I'm going to write 1.25x plus 1.25y. And I will also distribute the 4. That's going to give me 4x minus 4y equals 10. Okay, well, I think I'll use addition for this one. Now, what you can do in a situation like this, especially when there's decimals, instead of sitting there trying to figure out what number times 1.25 is going to give you 4, why don't we just use this trick where we multiply both sides of the top equation by 4, and we'll multiply both sides of the bottom equation by 1.25. That will give me opposite coefficients on the y terms. Okay, so we'll distribute the 4. Give us a new first equation. 4 times 1.25 happens to be 5. So that's kind of nice. And of course, 10 times 4 is 40. 1.25 times 4 is 5. 1.25 1.25 times 4. I think I said that wrong. 1.25 times negative 4 is negative 5, and 10 times 1.25 is 12.5. So now when I add those equations together, 5x plus 5x is 10x. The y terms drop out. 40 plus 12.5 is 52.5. Dividing both sides by 10, we get x is 5.25. All right, so now we need to find y. So let's see, why don't we use, let's use this equation here before I multiplied it by 1.25. So we have 4x minus 4y equals 10, right? Yeah. X is 5.25. Four times 5.25 is 21. Now we'll subtract 21 from both sides. It gives us negative 4y equals negative 11, which means y is negative 11 divided by negative 4, which is 2.75. Okay, now this is a little unusual, but in this problem, they had only asked for the value of y. They asked, what is the rate of the current? So I would write my answer like this. The rate of the current is 2.75 miles per hour. All right. That brings us to the macadamia problem. We have x plus y equals 40 and 1650x, an astounding 1650, plus 9.25y equals 400. I will use substitution for this one. I will take the first equation and, oh, what the heck, let's solve it for x this time. So I'll subtract y on both sides, which gives me x equals 40 minus y. That's equation star. So now we'll substitute that into the second equation, which used to say 1650x, but will now say 1650 times 40 minus y plus 9.25y equals 400. All right, let me grab my calculator here. 1650 times 40 is 660 minus 1650y plus 9.25y equals 400. We'll combine the like terms. Negative 1650 plus 925 is negative 7.25. All right, let's carry that equation over onto the next page. 660 minus 7.25y equals 400. We'll subtract 60 on both sides, which gives us negative 7.25y equals negative 260. Dividing both sides by negative 7.25, we get that y is, let's see, 260 divided by 7.25 is 35.862069 and some other decimals after that. In this problem, they had asked us to round our answers to one decimal place. So I'll round this to 35.9. Let's do this. Since that was rounded, let's make this a wiggly equal sign. Okay, and then equation star said that x equals 40 minus y. 40 minus 35.9 is 4.1. All right, so in order to get a mix of nuts that cost $10 a pound, you should use 4.1 pounds of macadamias and the rest, 35.9 pounds, can be standard mix. All right, and that's going to do it for this section. So we'll see you next time for Chapter 5.